Welcome back. Let's start the hour with security matters. Bello Turji, the notorious bandit leader, has confirmed that he engaged in peace talks with the Zamfara State government during former Governor Bello Matawalle's tenure. Now, he denies ever receiving 30 million naira or any other payout, insisting that the talks was aimed solely at peace. The conflicting claims have reignited debates about how the state negotiates with armed groups and the accountability of officials involved. The issue touches every Nigerian. The Northwest continues to suffer kidnappings and killings, forcing policymakers to balance dialogue with force. Allegations of political involvement risk undermining public trust and complicating efforts to build a coherent national security strategy. And so to help us unpack these issues, we're joined by Dr. Bashir Kurfi. He's a political analyst. Also joining us later on the program will be Yahuza Getso. He's a security, intelligence, and investigation expert. Both will be giving us insight and exploring what these claims and denials will mean for Nigeria's approach to insecurity. First of all, Dr. Bashir Kurfi, I want to say thank you so much for joining us, sir, and a very good morning to you.
Much.
Good morning. Let me start with the admissions of Turji and denial of revealing, and the denial and what it reveals about, the political narrative around peace talks, especially in insecurity-prone areas like Zamfara State.
Well, you see, the question of the political actors talking to bandits is not anything in dispute. Quite almost of political actors, in fact, some of them created those kind of bandits operating in various parts, particularly in the northern states. If you look at the historical antecedent of what have happened in Maiduguri, in northeast and now northwest and some part of north central. So for Turji, who is a political, bandit, saying that he deals with ABCD, I don't think that is much news to many of us who follow trends in this criminal activities going on in our part of the country.
Right. And so how might these claims affect public trust in government as regards anti-banditry efforts that this government and state governments are, trying to impose?
Well, you see, in the case of public trust of this politician, I don't think it's in any way close to they care about their own people. What is happening now in most part of the Northwest, the government is negotiating with these bandits. I am from Katsina State, and I know in Katsina, the government was involved in the negotiation with the bandits. But what is very funny and very ridiculous of what is going on in these negotiations, while you come armless, the bandits will determine where you should come for the meeting with them. They determine how much money they should be given before they come for the meeting. They will come with their arms, and they dictate the tune of what should be done. So what is happening in effect now, you open more porous way for these people to gather more arms, and also to service their terrorism machinery. And this is exactly what is going on now.
Can there be peace, or what then would be a solution in terms of anti-banditry, right? Because if negotiations are happening between government and criminals, one has to ask the question about what truly is the real solutions and why are they not transparent? Whose responsibility is it, when it comes to issues like this, whether state or federal, to ensure transparency when it comes to peace talks?
Well, you see, what we found of recent, look, you have the current Minister of Defense. He made a public statement when he was even joint chief of staff, and currently also when he's appointed as a minister. He clearly said that there will be no way government will negotiate with bandits. But at the same time, state governments are taking their own personal initiative negotiating with this bandit at a very irresponsible way. So you see, there is a very serious problem in this because we know the defense issue is a federal government responsibility, but in collaboration with the states who are on the ground. But I think in this kind of case, Nigerians have to take it as their entire problem. Now, if you look at the budget of this year, the chunk of the amount of money to be spent in the federal budget is on defense and security. So a Nigerian who is from Enugu or who is from Ibadan and all this, he should be concerned, because if there is no this irresponsible political management in the northwest and northeast and north central, there wouldn't have been this unnecessary expenditure. This amount of money, which ordinarily should be spread across Nigeria for their own development, now is taken to one section of the country in the name of defense, of which a lot of corruption even is involved in that. So I think it's a very serious thing, as everybody will say, that security is the business of everybody. Right. And that's a true fact. And also people will question, with this era of technology, of which you can be able to monitor each and everything that is going on in your country, what is going on? And also why everybody seems in the country is on his own. You see governors, one of the governors of recent in the Northwest, he went to Belarus and he was discussing with the Belarus government of cooperation between them and his state of it. And we also know some activities. They even send people to Israel. These are issues which you cannot do it without the clearance of federal government. So I think it's something which we have to look very critically and see what we could do for the interest of our country. Because even now when the US is saying that they put a restriction on visa and all this kind of stuff, look, the simple thing which the United States is saying, your people have been killed, your people have been mined, they have been raped, and you seem to be doing nothing. So you see, so this is a very big problem in any international relations with any other country, because they know there is something that you can do and you didn't do. And I say that's the bottom line of the discussion.
All right. Now we have our second guest now, Yahuza Getso. He is a security analyst as well, security intelligence and investigation expert, who joins me live now. Mr. Getso, it's good to have you join us. First, let me just get your reaction, given the government's denial of peace talks and claims of payoffs by Turji.
Thank you for having me. I think we need to digest the reality that there is no governor in Nigeria in the areas where we are having this crisis that have not had an access or one meeting or another with some of the representatives of these guys that are operating in these locations. It is very clear that even in the statement credited to Bello Turji in the voice, in the video I just saw you playing, you just played, he has made mention very clear that they have had meetings with the former governor of Zamfara State, the Bello Matawalle, now the State Minister of Defense. And at the same time, even the present governor of Zamfara State, Dauda Lawal-Deri, there were pledges and a kind of consultations between his government and the bandits, even though he stood a position that he was not ready to have any discussion as far as dialogue is concerned. His only way of dialogue is for them to submit their arms first and stop committing the atrocities. But subsequent governments in Sokoto, in Kebbi, in Niger, in Kaduna, in Katsina have had such engagements. It doesn't mean that those engagements that they have had, there were exchange of money. Nobody can certify that. But the question is, who are these guys? Are they foreigners or are they Nigerians? where are they operating? Which space are they using to operate? Are they operating in the Nigerian space, or are they operating in other space? The answer is there are 99.9% of them are Nigerians, and they are operating in Nigeria. Likewise, 99.9% of them, they are operating in Nigerian space for what we call ungoverned spaces or hard to reach or difficult terrain, which I quite disagree. None of these places where these guys are living is hard to reach or difficult terrain, because we have other people, we have other members of the community, we have other citizens of Nigeria that they have been disturbing over time. So it is either our negligence or inability to deal with the situation decisively, because it has become a money-making venture. That is why we are promoting it every now and then it is creating an enabling environment for them, collecting the money for the people they have kidnapped in order to use that money to possess additional arms.
Right.
Thousands and millions. Go back to the data from the Bureau of National Statistics. They have made mention over 1 trillion was given to them in the year 2003 and the same in the year 2004.
All right.
So what's a country we have? What a leader? Do we really have leaders? Are we sincere? Are we honest? When are we really coming to end this banditry? We keep saying that Turji and others are on the wanted list,
yeah,
which
Mr.
I
Getso,
disagree.
Yeah, Mr. Getso, we want to quickly go on a short break. When we come back, we'll continue this discussion, right, about, the effectiveness of peace talks and, whether or not there can be an enforced and effective disarmament when it comes to this bandits and criminals. And at this point, the president has now also declared that bandits are terrorists, and it makes you wonder what then will be the strategy in dealing with those criminals moving forward. But first, let's go on the short break. After the break, there's plenty. Stay with us. You're watching Breakfast Xtra here on News Central Television. Let's switch gears now from Johannesburg back here to Nigeria. Still on security, but this time on insecurity, about allegations of payments or settlements of about 30 million naira or payoffs. Now, the governor of Zamfara, former governor of Zamfara, former governor Bello Matawalle has denied these allegations, but notorious bandit leader Bello Turji said he had peace talks with the former governor and received 30 million naira as payoff. Now, we've been talking about this. My guest today first is Dr. Bashir Kurfi, who is a political analyst, and also Yahuza Getso, who is a security intelligence and investigation expert. Now, both gentlemen have been talking to me about pretty much his allegations and what he means when it comes to peace talks and, dealing with bandits and dialogue, and whether a transparency in the process of peace talk with dialogue, right? And before the break, Mr. Getso, you were talking to me about, a total disarmament of bandits and whether or not that can be possible, right? But now there's now that tag of bandits or armed headsmen or kidnappers have now all been labeled as terrorists by the president. And so moving forward, what would a total disarmament look like? And how best can we ensure transparency? If there were to be a peace talks, should we be having peace talks, whether at state level or at federal level, when it comes to bandits and terrorists?
There will be a peace talk, but only on several conditions. One of the conditions is for all the bandits to put themselves together, because they know one another, they know the locations of one another, they communicate among themselves, and they also communicate among the informers and the unscrupulous element within the security strata and the traditional institutions, as well as the religious clerics. So they must, first of all, hand over their arms. They must be ready to load their arms. That is one. Secondly, they must provide information on how they are providing, how they are about their logistics supply, who is supplying what, when, how. So federal government have to take over the supply of the arms and other things. And I think I need to make it very clear here. From the video, Bello Turji did not affirm that he has collected 30 million. In fact, he denied collecting any money, including the feeding for the animal feeding that was claimed by Musa Kamarawa, that was given out to give it to them. He said he bought it 600,000 from Musa Kamarawa. So I think we need to be very, very careful on how we translate information. We need to get reliable people to translate and transcribe the information if we cannot understand the language. There wasn't any confirmation or affirmative statement from Bello Turji that he collected the money, but rather Musa Kamarawa, who was the negotiator between the Bello Turji and government of Zamfara State under the leadership of the former governor, now the state minister, he made it very clear that Musa Kamarawa mentioned that he has given 30 million, which Bello Turji denied that he was not given anything. Even the animal feed, that is called Dusa, he bought it from Musa Kamarawa at the rate of 600,000 naira. So the peace talk can continue, yes, of course, because there has been war and violence everywhere in the world. And there are peace talk, and that is what is needed, because nobody wants blood to continue to be shed. Everybody needs a peace process, but not on the conditions that we are conducting the peace talk. We have to be realistic. We have to be honest. We have to identify the unscrupulous element. We have to identify the supply chain so that we can break into it. Federal government need to take ownership and the total ownership, and they must submit on no condition. They must not give government any condition. If there may be any condition, probably if it means provision of some essential, some social services like provision of schools and so on and so forth, and probably maybe rehabilitation and the like. But not really in a situation whereby you will see a bandit kind of decorated himself with all the arms and whatever in the presence of military, in the presence of police, in the presence of local government chairman, in some cases some of the representatives of the commissioners, of the governors and so on, and given conditions that this must be done for us to do this and that. And I said, and I'm still repeating myself, these guys are known, these guys, their locations are known, they are citizens of Nigeria, they are citizens of most of the locations where they are operating within the radius of 70 to 100 kilometers. So it is not difficult. It is only that Nigeria refused to deal with them decisively. But I am convinced and becoming more confident that with the emergence of the new Minister of Defense, that is General Christopher Musa, and some of the commitments he has been making, and some of taking the position and disposition that no dialogue and nothing like dialogue, and those who are found to be participating in any dialogue process or whatever will be considered as bandits. I quite commend the minister, and I hope Nigerians will also, every Nigerian will believe that I am also General Christopher Musa, I am also President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, I'm also the divisional police officer, I'm also the director SSS, because the issue of security is everybody's business. So we must all be ready to support and to provide necessary essentials that is needed. And anybody who is found wanting must be dealt with without any fear or favor. There are a lot of commitment in terms of policy, in terms of declaration of state of emergency, in terms of emergence of the new minister, in terms of position of the minister, in terms of position of the repositioning, the strategic way of doing things, in terms of purchase of armaments and other requirements that is needed for fighting this insurgency. So if at all, we, all of us Nigerians are serious and we want to be committed, and we are really tired of these things, those among the politicians, among the traditional and religious leaders, among the philanthropists and other business owners, because I have made mention very clear several times that I know and I have evidence on who are supplying them with the fuel. And I know they are cut across in all the state of Sokoto, Kebbi, Katsina, Niger. The fueling stations are there, and they are providing this fuel on a high, very high price through using their form in their fueling stations. And I have presented this information before the highest level of authority as far as intelligence and security is concerned in Nigeria.
Right.
I don't really know. That's my responsibility.
Mr. Getso,
authority.
yeah, Mr. Getso, there's no, I hate to cut you, but Let me just quickly bring in Dr. Bashir so that we can wrap up this discussion, right? Your final remarks in terms of the way forward when it comes to peace talks. Should politicians be at the helm of affairs when it comes to peace talks? Should there not be somewhat of an agency that could be attached to the security personnel and agencies that can be like an arm to facilitate these dialogues?
Practice in peace talks. You remember the last one was the one in South Africa, led by Desmond Tutu. So it's not necessarily that it have to be headed by the intelligence services or whatever, but there have to be key players in those kind of discussion. And you see, the purpose of a peace talk is not just to come and have a discussion, but those people who are involved in some of the atrocities, they have to believe in their mind that they regret of what they have done. And they will come out to the public and say, I have killed it, so. I have raped, so. And all this, I'm asking for forgiveness. And in doing that, you don't come with your arms. You don't, you as government, like what these state governments are doing. We who are from that area, I live in the village. I do stay in the village when I'm around my state. And there are many women who came to me and told me how they were raped by the bandit, how they were killed. You have people who are living in our communities, who paid ransom. Today they are penniless, and then there are also people who, by virtue of what have happened, now based on that problem that you are having of the banditry, I can tell you authoritatively that in my own state like Katsina, and I know like in Sokoto, I know like also in Zamfara, more than 60 to 70% of our kids are not going to the schools because the schools have been closed by the bandit. So in doing this, I see as a responsibility of each and every one of us to come out clearly to see how we can key in stopping this kind of atrocity. Now, it is excellent, Mr. President had declared a state of emergency in security. But if President make such kind of statement, now it's the responsibility of every citizen to key in where he thinks he can be relevant in stopping these atrocities. So if today you are Federal Minister of Health, you should think of how do I secure my hospital based on the statement and emergency statement of Mr. President. That's why I think what like the initiative the TED Fund is taking now, saying that, okay, we make a lot of intervention in terms of investment in various tertiary institutions. And we know some of the investment we have done in these schools or this institution, some of these places, you make the investment, but nobody can utilize them because of the banditry. Therefore, they decided to come to what they call, let's create a campus security master plan to address some of this problem that is happening in our various institutions. And that's, I think, of recent they have this discussion with the chief executives of the tertiary institution, their chief security officer, their dean of students. And I think this is one of the right way to go. But then having said that, in the appointments of either ministers of defense or minister or whatever, there must be a comprehensive rundown of each individual who we are going to appoint in various positions for the development of our country.
All right.
I cannot understand, for whatever reason, to say that a country like Nigeria with 200 million people, you have Matawalle and Badaru as ministers of defense. I don't know how that
we have
happen.
to go. We're pressed for time. Unfortunately, we do have to go. I want to say thank you to both of you for taking out the time to join us this morning and just giving us your insight. Dr. Bashir Kurfi, he is a political analyst, as well as Yahuza Getso, who is a security intelligence and investigation expert. Once again, gentlemen, thank you.